Hello, virtuous thought leaders, scholars, and virtue change agents. My name is Dr. Lisa Marie Portugal, and I am the Leadership Architect. And I'd like to welcome you today to another talk that I have prepared for you and in service to you and your goals. This talk is called Contingency Model versus Situational Leadership Model. And it comes out of one of my many books called A Culture of Excellence: Virtuous Leadership Principles for Organizational Success, a Management System. And the cover slide is also the cover of the book, The Four Cardinal Virtues: Prudence, Justice, Fortitude, and Temperance. We cannot achieve greatness or magnanimity unless and until we master the virtues within ourselves. Reaching greatness or magnanimity is about virtue building within ourselves, our families, communities, and others. We cannot achieve magnanimity until fortitude, self-control, counsel, justice, prudence, understanding, respect for others, temperance, humility, charity, piety, and courage are present first within us. We cannot give to others what we do not possess ourselves. So understanding how to master ourselves and build virtue is the first, ongoing, and last step required for magnanimity. And mastering the virtues is a lifelong and ongoing process throughout our entire lives. When we fall, pick yourself up and start the practice of virtue building again, and do this throughout your life. Magnanimity is an ongoing process and a focus we should have throughout our lives. It is also a focus we should have for working with, mentoring, and coaching others to their greatness. We can build virtue within ourselves and help others in our sphere of influence to achieve greatness in their own lives by teaching the virtues and living the virtues in everything we do. I'd like to invite you today and every day to live virtuously. Okay, so table of contents, we will be going over the About Dr. Portugal page, contingency model versus situational leadership model, contingency model, contingency theory, situational model, similarities between contingency and situational models, differences between contingency and situational models, contingency versus situational leadership models, and in conclusion, we will compare and contrast. And I hope you enjoy these talks because I have a lot of content I'm going to share with you. And as I mentioned in the last talk, much of the leadership content that I'm going to share, as well as many of the leadership theories I'll be talking about, and best practices, come out of 3 different doctoral programs that I was in. I had a PhD in leadership for higher education, a doctorate in public health education. I just added this to this slide. I didn't have it on the previous ones, but I also did 42 credits in a Doctor of Management, a DM in executive leadership. And then, of course, all of the other programs I was in, there are many, 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 did I say many, courses I have taken on leadership. And I thought, well, what can I do with all of this content? In addition to publishing in peer-reviewed journals, academic and business and medical and so on, I, did the books. And then I thought, well, how can I get this information out to people who might be similar to myself, who want to know about leadership best practices, who are leaders or who want to be leaders and managers of others, and who want to improve whatever situation they're in, and improve our nation and our society. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put this information out for free so that other people who should be leaders, who are leaders, who want to be leaders, will understand some best practices and then decide how they want to shape and form their own leadership brand. So there you go. Okay, so let's talk about contingency model versus situational leadership model. A fundamental difference between situational and contingency leadership is that situational explains that leaders change their style to each particular situation that presents itself, while contingency describes how leaders' styles should match situations. Situational and contingency theories are equal in some measure, as each underscores an importance on situations. These theories have much in common, but there are distinct differences between them. Contingency theory was advanced by Fiedler, while situational theory was crafted by Hersey and Blanchard. All right, now let's talk about contingency model a little more in depth. Contingency explains how the effectiveness of a leader is dependent upon the situation and the leader's leadership style. The theory is dependent upon relationships between staffers and leaders. The type of relationship these individuals share will determine if a leader is task-oriented or relationship-oriented. Additionally, the theory posits that behaviors guide leadership styles, and those behaviors cannot be modified or influenced. The contingency model explains how the following three variables can affect situations. So let's talk about positional power. This is a measurement of how much authority managers have and how managers influence the productivity of staffers. Task structure is a measurement of how clear projects or tasks are. Leader-member relation. This is about when staffers have confidence and trust in a manager, then they are motivated by the manager. This is a positive relationship. I know we want to see that in our workplaces, right? I like to have good relationships with everyone that I work with. Okay, so let's look at contingency theory. Contingency theory posits that leaders are only effective in situations that best suit them and not in all situations. Fiedler designed a questionnaire assessment that determined if a leader views least preferred staffers in a negative manner and as underachievers, posing obstacles to his or her own performance. Then that leader will be more task-oriented. Very interesting, right? In addition, a low score in the people-oriented category on the assessment means the leader may be more task-oriented. If a leader scores high in the people-oriented category, he is likely to view staffers more positively. Thus, he may be more relationship-oriented. For myself, I am definitely relationship-oriented and people-oriented. I like that, which is why I'm doing this for you, because I enjoy helping and working with people. For me, that's fun. Okay, let's talk about the situational model. Situational explains that there is not an optimal leadership style. The leadership style a manager chooses will depend upon the type of situation he is faced with, right? So it's based upon the situation, and then a leader may pop in a different style depending upon the situation or the people. So which is why I'm giving you a lot of different leadership theories and models as we continue on, so you can decide what suits you best. I will say this: I definitely am guided by virtuous leadership, but that's my overriding model. But at any given time, I can kind of swap out some of these other models depending upon what situation I'm in, right? And meeting people where they're at. But my overriding model and brand is I'm going to always try and lead with my values and virtues first. Okay, so let's continue on. The most effective managers will change or alter their leadership style to match any given situation. Very interesting. The model is focused on adaptability. Leaders who use this leadership style are concerned with being flexible according to the needs and demands of their staffers. Furthermore, the theory posits that leaders should have the ability to assess the situation and the level of maturity in staffers to determine which methods may be most effective at any given time. The situational leadership model allows for broader considerations when examining complex and dynamic social situations. Similarities between contingency and situation models or situational models. Most leaders are either relationship-oriented or task-oriented. Okay, so you can kind of think about that. People that you work with, who you've known in the past. I would say I tend more to be on the relationship-oriented side, But, at other times, I know I have to be task oriented because we got to get the job done. But you can kind of get a feel now that you're understanding some of these concepts. When you're working with people, you can kind of target what their style is, right? Okay, so both theories posit that it is not a leader's personality that needs to be altered, but rather a situation. Situational and contingency posit that there are no perfect leaders, and for certain situations, all types of leaders are right. Very interesting, right? Okay, so now let's look at differences between contingency and situational models. Contingency posits that a leader's effectiveness is contingent on whether his or her leadership style matches a situation. Situational states that a leader's leadership style should be adaptable to match a situation. This is an important difference between situational and contingency models. Another difference is that each model was developed by different theorists. Well, that kind of goes without saying now that I mentioned who the theorists were. So let's take a closer look at contingency versus situational leadership models. This graphic further explains differences and comparisons related to contingency and situational models. And let's break it apart. Okay, so we've got contingency leadership on the left, the blue column, situational leadership on the right, and we're going to go through each one. The definition for contingency first and then situational. Contingency leadership is a theory that states a leader's effectiveness is contingent upon how his or her leadership style matches the situation. Situational leadership is a theory that states a leader should adapt his or her leadership style to match the situation. The developer, as you can see, there are the names. The basis. For contingency, leadership style should match the right situation. For situational, leadership should adapt his style to the situation at hand. So that leader on the situational is going to change him or herself, right? Okay, relationship between leader and coworker. For contingency, it is built on the relationship between the leader and the coworker. For situational, does not describe the relationship between the leader and the coworker. For type of leader. For contingency, the relationship between leader and coworker will determine whether the leader is relationship-oriented or task-oriented. And then situational, the situation will determine whether the leader is relationship-oriented or task-oriented. So it's based, one is relationship and the other is situation. And then for effectiveness, finally, contingency, the effectiveness of the leader is measured based on the person's leadership style and the situations one tends to favor. And then for situational, effectiveness of leaders is measured based on how they change their leadership style to the situation. I can say that I commonly will use situational leadership more often because I may have to change my leadership style. So for example, I'm always going to lead with virtuous leadership. But if I'm working with someone, if you're familiar with the personality test True Colors, where someone may be a blue, which is more warm, fuzzy, they need more, emotional support, then I'm going to change my style, right? And some people may want me to deliver information in smaller pieces, smaller chunks with a lot of affirmations. And then another type of person may be like a gold, where they're, very analytical thinking, not emotional, and they're going to want a spreadsheet, right? And they're going to want more autonomy, and they're not going to want me to be, all up in their business. I guess you could put it that way, right? They're just going to just give me the facts, ma'am, and only the facts. So depending on the kind of person that I'm working with, I'm going to change my leadership style for that individual or that group based upon that situation. And same thing, if you're a teacher, you're aware of ability levels and learning styles. If I have a bunch of people in front of me who are oh gosh, what is that word? Kinesthetic, right? Bodily aware, kinesthetic, versus others who are more logical and spreadsheet sheet types, then I'm going to be different in my approach to how I'm going to reach them. Same, likewise, I could have a situation where I have people, say if I'm in a classroom, I may have someone in a K-12 classroom that could be at several at the junior high level, others at the ninth grade level, and then others at a high functioning 12th grade honors school level, right? And they could all be in my same classroom. So I'm kind of giving you a visual picture here, and that same situation can be evident anywhere we are in life. So how are you going to teach or convey the same content to a lot of different people who have different ability levels and different learning styles? They're at different places. How are you going to do that? So I tend to fall into the situational leadership style when I need to. All right, so let's get to, I've got a little last phrase here. Let me finish off with this slide. The main difference between the situational and the contingency models is that situational explains that a leader should be adaptable to the situation he or she is faced with, while contingency emphasizes a leader's type and style of leadership should ideally match the situation. So, for example, when people are working in recruitment, and they have a certain type of situation, they're going to want to look for putting in a manager or a leader that is going to match the situation that they already have at hand, right? So they're going to look for that person's style. Does that person's style match the situation that we have already internally? So those are the two differences. The leader doesn't change in contingency. The leader changes in situational. Okay, so according to Fiedler's theory, he thought that a leader is naturally fixed in the way in which he or she deals with situations. And if one desires to change how a situation is dealt with, then the leader must be changed. Critics of Fiedler's theory say it lacks flexibility in the leadership style. Another example would be, and I always say this to anyone who's going out, looking for work, or, I coach a lot of teachers. So I always say, if you're new in teaching, I was told go out and try a lot of different environments on, because you don't know what your temperament is going to be best suited in which environment. So I went out and I worked in a lot of different areas to see what grade level I liked. I taught from sixth grade all the way up to 12th grade, and then honors, and then of course university work from the entering freshman all the way to the master's, and then the doctoral and the PhD level. So I've taught every single level starting from sixth grade on up to doctoral, and that way I can kind of get a feel for where do I fit best. So if we're looking at the contingency leadership model, you're going to want to, if you know what your temperament is, your disposition is, you're going to want to look for an organization or a situation that is going to match who you are. So for example, if you're a Christian person and you want to work somewhere where they're going to respect and value and mirror what your values are, then you're going to want to go and work in an organization that kind of represents who you are anyways. So you won't get yourself into any uncomfortable or compromising situations. So that's, kind of how a contingency model might look. And then of course, situational, I already described that. So there's kind of the both sides of that. And then, for yourself, I'll leave it to you to experiment and see where you fit best. But I do like to point out to students and others that it is a good idea to look for work where it matches your ethics and your own morality. Okay, so let's continue on. Now we're at the conclusion. So situational and contingency approaches are similar yet opposite. For example, they are similar because they each stress that situations are important. Then they are opposite because each holds that expectations of leaders are different. A situational approach posits that leaders should be adaptable to situations that arise. A contingency model stresses that the right leader will match the right situation. A situational approach emphasizes not on behavioral traits or personal qualities of a leader, but rather upon the situation in which a leader finds himself or herself. On the other hand, a contingency model is based upon a leader's personal qualities and behavioral traits. So I would say for myself, it's important. I definitely want to work in an area where, that it matches my contingency, I guess you could say. I don't want to work somewhere where it doesn't match my morality and my ethics and my values and my virtues, right? And if I get myself in a situation like that, then that's not going to last very long for me, because I'm going to be confronted with problems or things that are going to challenge the essence of who I am as a person, right? Again, we still have to be flexible. So I know that, it's important for me to go where it matches my own value system. And it's important for me to be flexible as well, because there are a lot of different kinds of people that I have encountered and worked with, and students that I've worked with and helped to change lives. And everyone comes from different walks of life. I've worked with, like I said, children, young people, and I think some of my oldest doctoral and graduate students were in their 60s. So I've worked with a lot of different people from all different socioeconomic backgrounds, multicultural backgrounds, and it's been fantastic. So on both sides, we do have to be able to be flexible as well. Okay, I think that is the last of it. Let's see what my references slide. There they are, the references. So hopefully I gave you some more information there that you can kind of think about, and will help you formulate your own vision for yourself and your leadership style and brand. There will be many other theories that I will be presenting for you. I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It is always my pleasure and my honor to serve you. God bless you.